All right, Heather, we're ready when you are.
Okay. Good afternoon and a very well welcome to this Industry Insights into Tourism. My name is Heather Ring and I'm the Industry and Community Coordinator at the Gordon Skills and Jobs Centre. I'm joined by my colleagues Soraya Ravandan and Keith Burnell from the Wyndham City Council, who are behind the scenes and will be managing the chat function of this session. I'd like to commence our session with an acknowledgement of country. We acknowledge the Wadawurrung and Burrawong people as the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today. Wyndham City Council and the Gordon recognises Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples as the first people of Australia. We also acknowledge the Burrawong and Wadawurrung peoples as traditional owners of the land on which Wyndham City and the Gordon operates. The Wadawurrung and Burrawong peoples have always will belong to the Werribee Yarlung River, creeks, stars, hills, and red clay of this country. We pay respect to their ancestors and elders past, present and emerging, who always have and always will care for the country and community today and for the future generations, and who have taught their children and adults on this land. Before I introduce our presenters, I'd just like to run through some of the format today. We're using Teams today, so if you wouldn't mind, please just putting your microphones on mute, that would be helpful. If you're wanting to ask a question, please use the chat function and the question will either be answered directly or you may be able to ask it during our question and answer session at the end of the discussion with our panel. And finally, just so that you're aware, this session will be recorded and you will be able to get access to this after today. So I guess let's move to a little bit of an understanding of what the event is all about. Today is to help people who are interested to learn more about career opportunities within the tourism industry. The aim is to share with you an understanding of employment opportunities and educational pathways and links between tourism providers and educational pathways to build a career. This session has been brought to you today on the ongoing partnership between Opportunity Wyndham and the Gordon Skills and Jobs Centre. To assist you to understand a little more about each of these organisations, please allow me to share with you some background. Firstly, the Gordon Skills and Jobs Centre offers free career and employment advice for everyone in the Geelong and Wyndham regions, whether you're changing careers, returning to work, or you need some interview confidence. You can arrange a one-on-one appointment or you can attend some of our workshops. But I guess the key piece of information is that all our services are free. So please visit our website and have a look. Opportunity Wyndham provides local businesses with free tools, resources and access to recruitment services and local talent to build stronger, more inclusive workplaces. The initiative brings together Wyndham City Council, local employment partners, educational institutions and businesses to build pathways to employment with support from the Victorian State Government. That said, on behalf of the Wyndham City Council, Opportunity Wyndham and Gordon Skills and Jobs Centre, I would like now to introduce you to our panel. We have Pare Prata, who is the team leader of the visitor services at Wyndham City Council. Welcome, Pare. Then we have two people from the Holiday Inn at Werribee. We have Anne-Marie Jolie, Human Resource Manager, and Preston Miss Kelly, who is a General Manager. Welcome to you both. Next, we have Stephen North, who is a tourism teacher at the Gordon TAFE. And our final panel member today is Jared Parsons, who is the Tourism Partnerships Manager, Parks Victoria. Welcome everybody and thank you for your time. I really do appreciate it. We are a little tight of a time schedule, so I'm going to move straight through to our first panel member, who is Pare. So thank you and welcome. Let me just share a little bit of information about Pare so that you have an understanding of her background and what she brings to our forum today. Pare is passionate about what drives tourists and tourism in Wyndham, as well as building strong relationships with industry partners. Pare comes from a varied background in customer-focused roles, primarily in account management, functions, events, hospitality and retail. From these roles, PARE has built strong community partnerships and looks to grow and continue these into the future. So I think I've spoken enough for now. I'm going to hand it over to you, Pare, and say, firstly, for our audience's benefit, if you had a little bit of a chance just to have a bit of an explanation of what happens at the visitor centre, and
Sure.
I guess if there is such a thing, what's a typical day, please?
Yes, not a problem. Well, thank you so much for this opportunity to be able to share and, what it is that we do. Well, yeah, I mean, the Visitor Information Centre is just that. We are a resource for visitors to come and utilise, our services being, our experiences that we're able to share about, our own local attractions first and foremost, all the things that you can see and do in our own backyard, as well as, all the things that you can do in and around Victoria, which is, which is a great resource to be able to have. So we're very much, we're right outside the zoo, as you can see from my picture there. So we're easy to find in terms of sort of our location. We are, outside one of our major attractions, which does attract, at least 600,000 external visitors from outside our own area, which is a great, achievement given that, it's an amazing resource for Wyndham itself. So, yeah, I mean, a typical day for us is engaging with, people who are not always locals to the area. Once they sort of enjoy and experience the zoo, they normally want to sort of see something else before they head on their way back home or onto another adventure or something like that. So yeah, a lot of the times, depending on the season, we'll see more international people or more sort of outer suburbs visitors. So yeah, we really get to sort of spread ourselves around in terms of who we get to engage with every day.
You must hear some wonderful stories, I'm sure. From
We
traveling around. Yes. So with the visitor centres, are the staff there? Are they employed on a full-time basis? Are they volunteers? Is there a mix and sort of training job? What's the opportunities in this space?
Yeah. So we have a mixed employment arrangement. So we have a full-time staff, some part-time staff, and then some casual staff. But look, our centre is primarily run by our volunteers who have the wealth of knowledge to be able to give you, those experiences about what you can do here in Wyndham, but also they're well travelled. Our volunteers are, of a seasoned age, being, 60 plus. So these people are well travelled, well learned, and really do still have that enthusiasm to travel. So we're very fortunate that we are able to have a strong volunteer program, and our staff are here to support them in what they do. So yeah, they are the customer focus or the face-to-face people of the centre. So we're very fortunate in that way. I mean, look, there's different opportunities. We are only a small team, so in terms of sort of movement around there, we do sort of suggest, hey, come and possibly volunteer first, see if it's something that you think that you would like to do and benefit from, because our volunteers definitely benefit from, number one, being the ambassadors for us and for Wyndham, but number two, that they're so flexible because they're of a retirement age or they're of a learning age. And funnily enough, one of our students who did a tourism course is actually in the session today. So there's different pathways in that way. So she was a student. As part of her placement, she came and done some volunteer work, and we've actually employed her as a casual staff member as of this month. So yeah, you can progress that way as well. So yeah.
That sounds fantastic, and as you say, an awesome, wonderful opportunity for other people wanting to get into this industry. As we'll see today, once we speak with all our panel members, we'll see the breadth of this industry and how many wonderful opportunities there are. Yes, so that's really wonderful. So the training, is that sort of on the job, or how does that sort of work for staff?
Look, it's a bit of both. We draw from your own experiences and the places that you've probably travelled to. but also we give you on-the-job training as well. So, you know, the visitors do go through what we call a QUEST program, or a quality experience training session, because it is about giving that quality visitor experience. And, you know, but we go through a lot of our own local attractions, and, you know, what's popular, what tends to sort of draw people to the region. And then, as I said, we draw on their own experiences from the places they've travelled to, the experiences they've had, and what they actually do then suggest to visitors. So, yeah.
I'm guessing that the environment of where you were currently based for Wyndham would cause a rather relaxing environment, I'm sure.
We work in the best location. You know, Werribee Park is such an amazing location, given that we are very close to Werribee Town Centre, but we're also, you know, in quite an amazing space. You know, the zoo itself, where we're situated just outside, is 255 hectares and growing, you know, with the elephants coming next year. So the space itself is amazing. Not just the zoo, there's the, you know, Werribee Mansion, there's the Rose Garden, there's so many things just to do in the park itself. So we have a great sort of space to be able to share with visitors. And, you know, because of where we work, it's a great place to work. We get to go and be familiar with the animals, and we get to walk around the zoo and have experiences, so that we can, you know, really tell our guests what it's like to actually go to these places. Yeah.
Yes, and I guess there's always the need to keep your knowledge current and up to date as well, so that, you know, you're able to then impart that information over to visitors.
Yes, absolutely. It is key for us to maintain our industry partners, because, yeah, as our business always changes, so does theirs. So it is about making sure that our volunteers stay up to date, so that that's the best information that they actually give our visitors.
For sure.
Hmm.
Wonderful, wonderful. It sounds very exciting and very interesting.
It is. We love it.
Yes. Well, thank you very much, and thank you for your time. I'm
You're
going to
welcome.
move on to our next two panel members, who are the lovely people from Holiday Inn in Werribee. So as I earlier mentioned, we have Anne-Marie Joly, who's the Human Resource Manager, and we have Preston Miss Kelly, who is the General Manager. So we're very lucky to have two people from there today. I'm just going to open with a little line that they shared with me, that where they said, they advised me that they joined the Holiday Inn at Werribee as part of the pre-opening team in 2021. Oh boy. Okay. What happened?
Not a great time to try and open a hotel. So we had a few delays. So construction got held up. There was certain times where 10% of the workforce for the construction team could be on site per the regulations that were in place. So yeah, it was pretty tricky. We opened in July and then got shut 6 days later because of lockdown, and then didn't open again until October 22, and we've been operating since then. So yeah, you don't get to open a hotel very often, but we got to open one twice, which was a very interesting experience. But we've yeah, it was good in some ways. We were able to, during that lockdown period, we were able to accept essential workers. So we did have some practice during those 3 months off, but there certainly wasn't a lot to do. There wasn't a lot of people staying. So it was, yeah, it was a very unique time. It's one that hopefully we can all forget about pretty quickly. And we're glad to have been operating for a year and a half now, fairly successfully.
Yes, yes. I'm happy to open to either of you if you want to maybe give our audience a little bit of an insight into the Holiday Inn at Werribee and what wonderful facilities you have. And I'm probably going to ask some questions of Anne-Marie around opportunities and career opportunities and things of that nature. So I don't know whether Preston, you want to take this one?
Yeah, sure. Well, yeah. A little bit about the hotel. We've got 150 rooms. We're positioned up on the top of the building from level 8 to level 11. It's a mixed use building, so it's not the Holiday Inn per se. There's other buildings, other businesses in there, tenancies and so forth. But we have 150 rooms. We also have a large ballroom which can seat 300, and we also have a restaurant and bar called Rosanna Bistro, and that is also on the 8th level of the hotel. So it's quite a complex building, given that there's so many stakeholders there. But Holiday Inn is part of the IHG Hotels group, which some of the more familiar brands might be Crown Plaza, Intercontinental, and Indigo. So that's a little bit of where we're sort of from. But, you know, standard day for us. We have a lot of check-ins and check-outs happening. Staying at the hotel, whether it's leisure guests, corporate guests. Today we've got a dinner for 200 in the ballroom. So, and then tomorrow we've got a sporting team arriving. I've got another one arriving on Sunday. So there's always a lot going on. We've got a busy breakfast every day. Dinners.
I think you're breaking up. I'm terribly sorry, Kirsten. I think you're
Week,
breaking
and
up.
then a really busy Friday and Saturday with a hotel of 150 rooms. Yeah.
Very good. Oh, it sounds interesting and exciting to be a part of.
Yeah.
So, Anne-Marie, as the human resource manager for Werribee Holiday Inn, I guess the question that the audience are keen to learn is, you know, what sort of roles do you have working within that Holiday Inn? What qualifications, skills do you need to have? You know, that type of thing.
Sure. So generally, most months of the year or every sort of second month, we are recruiting for food and beverage superstars. So to look after our conference and events, restaurant, bar, room service outlets, and then we have like kitchen hands, stewarding, back in the back of house kitchen area, housekeeping roles, which can vary from room attendant, which requires like cleaning the guest rooms, public area attendants, maintaining all the facilities surrounds of the building, and house person role, which also is helping a bit, like it's a bit of an all-rounder role. They help out with everything involved in housekeeping. So most time of the year, those roles are in somewhat demand because of the fluctuation of the business, and also you know, the staffing required in those areas to maintain the level services. And then in some more of the front office administrative roles, which could be like finance, sales and marketing, I guess like maintenance as well. Those roles seem to be always quite stable, at least for like 12 months or so or more. But you know, they can, you know, we sometimes need to increase in those areas, or people internally get promoted, or they move to another area within our hotel. So then those vacancies come up. I guess what we're looking for is people who are eager and energetic, passionate to work, to get their foot into the hotel industry, whether they've had prior experience or really eager to explore the world of hotels and hospitality. It always is preferred if somebody has prior experience in hotels, hospitality, or any sort of customer service facing role, so people facing, engaging with people. And we also look for their like qualifications. So, you know, their school, whether they've just finished high school, year 12, you know, whether they've gone into university, if they are studying hotel management or hospitality management, or if they're doing a trade such as like commercial cookery. That would be sort of the ideal candidate that we're looking for, where they are studying the pathway of hospitality, because then generally we will know that they are looking for the foot in the door while they're studying and into the future, like they're looking for a career journey in the industry long term.
If somebody was looking to do a career change, what sort of employability skill sets could they, or transferable skill sets would you sort of consider would be suitable? You mentioned customer service.
Yeah.
Is there anything else?
Yeah, definitely, if they've had face-to-face experience, pretty much through most industries, and if they're confident in that, they can translate across to hotels easily. It doesn't need and while studying in hotels is great, it's not an industry that needs you to have a degree to get in. I don't have a degree at all.
Fortunately, that
Oh,
technology is letting Preston
I
down.
jump in.
Yeah.
I'm going to drop the camera off and hopefully you can hear me now.
oh,
But yeah,
okay.
but definitely face-to-face is really important. If they've got that, they can move across. If they want to be around people and have a service mindset, then they'll be successful. And that's really the critical part of it. For us, we gain a lot from our interview process and our screening, and we really can understand whether a person will fit in the business by how they bring the energy, enthusiasm, and vibrancy to those meetings. And yeah, we've got some very successful team members with us and through other jobs I've worked in where they've come across from another industry and they just enjoy working with people, and naturally they'll succeed. And many other skills such as administrative work will translate easily to hotels. It's not a complex industry in terms of administration, but if you can serve people, you're going to be very successful.
Yes, and I was always wondering whether or not, if you were fortunate enough to be bilingual or multi-language, whether that would be a good skill set to bring to this.
Definitely, yes, yes. Because we're an international brand hotel, so we have people from all around the world staying with us, and especially our location here, Wyndham Werribee. A lot of tourism coming in. We have tour groups coming as well from all overseas. So that and some of our colleagues, they do have multi-languages, so it definitely does assist when you do have a guest that maybe not quite as fluent in English. Sometimes the Google Translate won't always do its thing, so yeah, it's better to have somebody that's always, and the guest feels more comfortable as well, and it makes them feel at home. At least they can converse with them.
Yes.
And one of the other benefits to having that bilingual is that you create greater opportunities for yourself to work overseas if that's something you desire. So if you have one of those, then if you're working in Southeast Asia, China, Japan, whether it's in the Pacific, there's opportunities for those sort of people that incline to work overseas. So and with Holiday Inn, as part of IHG, we've got 5,000 hotels worldwide. So there's plenty of opportunities to work abroad.
Yes, and I guess just finally for our audience's benefit, if they were looking to apply to Holiday Inn or anything, do you have any tips or tricks or anything to do with the application process or anything?
Yeah,
to
sure.
do
No, we were
through?
yeah, for us, really, we want to see an effective CV. So we want you to use precise dates, expand on your experience and responsibilities is really important for us. Format it well is something we would say as well. Your CV kind of reflects how much endeavor and accuracy you're going to put into your work. So for us, it's a real important one for us to see that first presentation is really good. What we would love, please build a history of longevity in your CV. So for us, it's fairly significant cost to bring someone into the business. We really don't like to take a chance with people who don't have longevity in roles. So if you've jumped around every 3 months, we're probably not going to call you. So build that history, try and stay in a place and work through roles in that place rather than jumping around. And we'd really love that you've researched the hotel when we speak to you. If you know about the hotel, you know about the brand Holiday Inn, you know about IHG, that kind of tells us you're engaged and you really want the job. So we do naturally have some biases, and they are that you're prepared, that you're interested and you're engaged, and that comes through those things I just sort of mentioned. And if you don't want to do those, then we're probably going to make some assumptions before you get to the interview process.
Yeah, no, it's very good information, and yes, I think some of that we could probably take away for applying for most positions, really, isn't it? About
Yep.
doing your research. I think that's just so important to actually know what the organisation is about
Mm.
Yeah.
that you're applying to.
Yeah,
so I think
absolutely.
that is certainly key and valuable information at TU. So thank you, Preston. Well, that's wonderful. So thank you to Anne-Marie and Preston for that information. I'm going to move us through now to our next
Thank you.
presenter, who is I'll admit this. It's good to re-engage with you, Stephen. And I'll give you a bit of a background. So Stephen is a tourism teacher from the Gordon TAFE, and just quickly, I'll let you know that Stephen has almost 30 years experience within the tourism industry, including tour guide, operator and tourism educator. He is currently part owner of 2 tourism accommodation businesses in the Great Ocean Road region and as an educator. Stephen has been teaching in the Gordon tourism programs for 20 years, imparting his knowledge and supporting newcomers to the industry. He has a real passion for the industry. And the reason I said it was good to reconnect is because, yes, 20 years ago, I was one of those students. I did an advanced diploma in tourism in meetings and events. And look at me now, Stephen.
Done well, Heather. Fantastic student, I must say.
Oh,
Thank you.
Shucks. So yes, I guess obviously we've invited you along today, and thank you for coming to be able to share with the audience about the educational pathways and opportunities that they may lead to for people who are interested in this particular industry. So I guess I'm going to get you to have a bit of chat about that with us, please, if you wouldn't mind, and just sort of let the audience know, what it can lead to, apart from me,
No,
and
that's right.
also to and how do they enrol, that type of
Yep.
thing.
No worries. Thanks, Heather. So we've got at the moment a Certificate 3 tourism program which is running, and that one will be running in the second half of the year. That's a 6-month program, and it's a classroom based. The other programs we've also got a Certificate 3 in tourism, which we run for VET in school students, or our VET delivered to secondary school students. And we've got a number of students who come from the Werribee Wyndham area into that program, and also have come into our main program as well. We're only half an hour down the road, so it's not too far away. The other one we have is traineeships. We have a number of students who are undertaking traineeships where they're working within industry, working for different operators, and they undertake that traineeship where we go out and visit them regularly in the workplace, and they undertake their training on the job. So that's another fantastic opportunity. We're looking at a new training packages come in for tourism and hospitality and cookery at the moment, and we're currently working on new courses for 2024 at the moment.
So watch this space.
Yep.
Oh, very good. So the Certificate 3 that you mentioned about, that's a 6-month program. Mind you, it was 12 months when I did it.
No, it was.
I don't know, maybe it's a 10 long. This is so I'm gathering is a face-to-face course still, or is it online, or
Yeah,
is it
no, that course is face-to-face. We do have some flexible learning involved with that one as well, where students can be supported and they can do stuff online. During COVID, we're obviously had to move that way in terms of a lot of online stuff, but no, it's classroom based definitely at the moment.
And I think from my experience, it was actually excellent way of delivery, because you could bounce off each other, and as I think I do recall some people volunteering at one of the local visitor centres, so they could come back with their stories and share with the rest of the group and things like that. So it was a really interesting and exciting thing to do.
We try to and that's great. Yeah, one of the benefits, I suppose, that we're sort of located within the sort of prime tourism region in a lot of way, and we have those industry partnerships and work really closely with industry. So students get out to visit a lot of industry visits, field trips, and sort of really link up with operators, which really helps in terms of that.
Yeah, and that's important too, as well as you say, building those relationships and those partnerships. And are there opportunities for students to volunteer
Definitely are. Yes, no, definitely. And one of the things, like, we look at, I suppose the course doesn't concentrate necessarily on just on one or two sectors, but we try and get the students who come through the course to get a really good understanding of all sectors of the industry, whether that be travel or transport, food and bev, attractions, tour guiding, visitor information. So it's getting that understanding and how they all work together. And a lot of the things that we'll cover things such as tourism knowledge, customer service, destinations, product knowledge, visitor information. We just said tour guiding, there's occupational health and safety, workplace health and safety, and then quotes and reservations. And basically preparing students to be able to step into a lot of roles within tourism, many roles within tourism. We find that students who leave don't necessarily follow one path. They end up going down one track for a while and then I'll step across to something else. And that's the nature of the industry, is that there's wonderful opportunities within industry to move from one role to another and to find those roles that you really that tick your boxes.
Yes, yeah, totally agree. That would be some of my experience as well, to be honest. Yeah, I think that is one of the, I would say, exciting things about the tourism industry is its breadth, and the opportunities that are available, both either on a local level that we're looking at today, or as Preston has alluded to, you know, within that one company, you can take your work overseas if you wish to. So it's very exciting, very interesting.
Definitely very varied opportunities within the industry.
You might like we're going to do that at one point in time. Okay, well, that's fantastic. So I was wondering about whether or not there was a success story from a past student, and I'm not talking about myself here. Let's be really clear. I now realise now that I've prepared this question, I thought maybe I shouldn't have had my disclaimer. Yeah, just I guess to be able to demonstrate to the audience, you know, from doing the course.
Yeah.
Has led for a particular student? Obviously, no names.
No, thanks, Heather. No, look, and that's the best part of the role, is just watching people grow and move into different roles. This recently, as a couple of weeks ago, we took a group of students down to have a dolphin swim with sea all dolphins down in Queenscliff, and one of the guides on the boat that day was one of our former students, who was absolutely fantastic. The students were that impressed with her. And she'd gone on, did our guiding course and did Set 3 in tourism, and then she's currently studying marine science at Deakin, but working 30-40 hours a week guiding within with the dolphin swims. So that was just one example there. Another one recently been in touch with who completed our diploma of tourism a number of years ago, and then she went on to further study again, and is now a ranger with Parks Victoria in the Grampians. And I suppose it's that pathways that you can take. It's once one thing steps onto another. Other students, we've got students who, for instance, have gone off. Another one recently been in touch with, who worked for many years as a flight attendant with Emirates, and went off and worked with Emirates after doing diploma of education of tourism. Another one had someone contact me last year who came back and has been working overseas as a tour guide for a number of years, and come back and wants to set up within a local region. So there's a whole range of other areas. We've got students at the moment who've gone on to work as travel consultants, both Geelong, Melbourne and regional areas, visitor information centres, and including management roles, tourism marketing, aviation, cruises, tour guiding, events, accommodation. And then we've got a number who've sort of started their own businesses based on their experiences through the course. And then we've got some who've just decided to head overseas and explore the world, and we hear from them every now and again.
They just suddenly pop up again. Yes.
Yeah.
No, it's wonderful. Yeah. No, thank you, Stephen. I think that really gives a good overview of where it can lead. The pathways, as they say.
Yeah, and I think that's definitely the thing, that it's one of the most diverse, exciting, and sort of challenging industries and important industries for Australia, and then that there's such a wide range of career opportunities available within the industry.
And to think that, you know, we're so lucky to have opportunities on our back doorstep, as I say, you know, as well. So it's all just here, or for those coming down from Wyndham, just jump on the train, come down, walk across the road, and you're there.
No.
Not easy.
And And you're
So-
travelling against the traffic too. It's always a lot easier.
Yes, indeed. That's always a key important thing, isn't it? Okay, well, thank you, Stephen. I'm going to move on to our final presenter for today. Okay, so let me quickly go back over again. We'd like to introduce Jared Parsons, who is the Tourism Partnerships Manager for Parks Victoria. Good afternoon, Jared, and thank you for joining us today. I'm going to give you the floor for a minute because I'm sure people have heard enough from me, and I'll let you just explain to people a bit about Parks Victoria, and also what does the Tourism Partnerships Manager do?
No worries, that's a big question. So
Hard-hitting questions here.
Parks Victoria essentially looks after our parks and waterways across Victoria, and we have something like 4.1 million hectares of land that we manage, which is approximately 18% of Victoria's land mass. So you think about, I guess, the opportunity there for people to come and visit nature. It's quite significant when, you know, so much of our land in Victoria has been put aside for conservation and for visitation. So, and then when you look at tourism across Victoria, nature is pretty much the #1 in every region attractor for, you know, why people actually come to a region, and especially to Victoria from international and interstate. So, so Parks Victoria plays quite a big role in not only managing and maintaining the parks, but also managing the visitors that sort of come into our park network. And we also manage a few other things like the Yarra River, Port Phillip Bay, and heritage assets like Werribee Park Mansion. So there's quite a few diverse things that we do in addition to national parks and other sort of land-based parks as well. My role it's actually quite an interesting role. Sorry, that's phone. One moment. But yeah, my role as Tourism Partnerships Manager is essentially focused around industry engagement and working with the tourism industry to make the most out of nature-based tourism, and then also to provide, I guess, and facilitate appropriate and sustainable tourism. So when we're looking at, you might have heard a phrase called over tourism, when we look at, you know, high numbers of visitors coming into Victoria and to different parts of the state, you know, we want to make sure that our messaging and the industry messaging is, you know, helping to funnel people to the right places and make sure that we don't end up with a situation where, you know, tourism becomes a bit of a counter to conservation. So, so we've got to find a nice little balance there, and that's a big part of what my role does. So.
Yes, and that would be a tricky thing, as you say, getting that right balance, because yes, we do want to enjoy the beautiful country that we have, but in the meantime, we've also got to look after it. So yes, it is. I can see that would keep you very busy. So. Yeah. Specifically for the Wyndham and Werribee area, you mentioned that the Werribee Mansion that you look after. What other areas are within your jurisdiction?
Yeah, so Werribee Mansion itself is interesting because we have the State Rose Gardens, which are next door, and there's a regional park that's sort of connected in. We cross over the Werribee River into a regional park just behind the mansion as well. So there's quite a bit just in that precinct. And we obviously have, you know, there's leaseholders like the Mansion Hotel and Shadowfax Winery that are all sort of connected in the site. So there's a few sort of things like that happening at that location. And then we also manage Point Cook Coastal Park and Cheetham Wetlands out in Point Cook. And we have just outside of Wyndham, we've got the You Yangs Regional Park. As I mentioned before, we manage Port Phillip Bay. So we've got, when there's a waterways event or something happening on the water, we're involved in that. At the beach side of things, and especially with recreational boating as well. That's often something we get involved with. And then we have another park called Serendip Sanctuary, which is just near the You Yangs. It's about 10 or 15 minutes up the road from there. And there's other places all over, sort of the surrounding area, places like Brisbane Ranges, I think it's National Park off the top of my head. Sorry, I had a mental blank there for a second. But yeah, there's quite a lot in the region. So.
And if someone was looking to want to work for Parks Victoria, what career opportunities do you have? What positions? What type of roles do you have? And I guess the usual question: how do I get one?
Yeah. There's quite a variety. I'm just touching on one of the points before. There's so many different ways that you can sort of work with or work in Parks Victoria. We've got accountants and a marketing team and customer service teams and all those side of things. But there's also, the operational on the ground rangers, and, all the roles that you kind of expect in conservation and land management. But yeah, at the moment, we actually advertise all of our roles through Seek. So if you're looking for a specific role with Parks Victoria, that's always the place to go to find us. Right now, there's actually 3 roles that are actually within this region. We have a horticulture ranger based at Werribee Park. There's a customer service officer, which I think is also based at Werribee Park. And then we have a ranger, community engagement ranger at Lara, which will be based with You Yangs and some of the parks in that area. It's one of those kind of things. I think there's so many different ways that you can sort of be part of Parks Victoria. It's really, I guess, thinking about, what's the thing you're most passionate about, and then thinking about how do you sort of build yourself up to be skilled and qualified to be working in those kind of roles. So I kind of found my way into Parks Victoria quite a long time ago, but yeah, I sort of fell into our customer service kind of area, and I did some really short 8-week jobs that just happened to sort of, I think I did 8 roles in Parks Victoria in the first 8 months. So I was doing a lot of sort of gap filling at the time, but it was all focused around marketing and communications, which is my background, and touching on a little bit of tourism as well. So having that kind of, breadth of experience that we were talking about before was actually really, great opportunity. And there is, I think once you're in the door too, there's a lot of opportunity to move around and try other things. So yeah, it's a really good sort of place to be in terms of nature-based tourism and connecting with people and helping people connect with nature. But there's also, outside of Parks Victoria, I think there's other ways to get involved, and even just thinking about licensed tour operators like Seal. You can be a tour guide and actually come and work in our parks without working for Parks Victoria at all. So there's other ways to think outside the square if you can't get into the organisation.
Yeah, and that's very key. What you say is thinking outside the square. I think is sometimes the way we can get a foot in the door, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yes. So we've spoken about the different roles and your living example of rather robust onboarding experience of doing different roles to get an overview of Parks Victoria. And yes, as you say, people can come and do other things. Is there a volunteer element to? And is that a good way for somebody to step into Parks Victoria?
Absolutely, and it's definitely, in having seen over the years, there's definitely been a lot of people who've come in through volunteering. It's sort of similar to the Visitor Information Centre in a way where, just being aware of people that are passionate and are skilled and have the resources, and you can let them know when a job comes up if that happens. But yeah, there's so many friends groups across Victoria, including at Werribee Park. There's quite a few volunteers at Werribee Park helping out in very different aspects. So some of the volunteers at Werribee Park are involved in the horticulture sort of gardening side of things. There's other volunteers who come in and they dress up in the costumes and actually do tours or walk around the mansion, which is just, it's phenomenal to see, full costumes, kind of not 1880s kind of people in character, which is great.
It just takes you back, doesn't it?
It does. And we have things like, there's a community garden out the back, which again sort of taps into the horticulture and the rose gardens as well. There's so many different sort of ways that you can get involved just in that one park. And again, looking at the statewide kind of level, again, there's just, if you find your passion and the thing that you're really interested in and connect with that in a way that, sort of helps you learn more about what's actually going on in the park and how it sort of works, and also, hopefully being seen at the same time, it does help quite a lot. So
yes, and I think that's a key message that's coming through from everybody today is passion. And I remember a number of my teachers at the time were indicating, it's an industry of people who have a passion and find that passion, and and the little bud will blossom, as we say.
Absolutely. It's actually one of the reasons why I think I've worked in Parks Victoria so long, is that you're working with people who love what they do. So like any organisation, there's challenges, but when you're working with people who are so passionate about protecting the parks and helping connect people with nature, it's just, you just love it. So it's a reason to stay. So
yeah, exactly. Okay, well, thank you. That's wonderful. I'm going to see whether either Keith or Soraya, who are busily in the background, have any questions from our audience that they might like to direct to any of our panel members, or
Yes,
yeah,
we do. So
We
quick
do?
one from me.
Excellent.
We have a participant, Rebecca's put in the chat to see if we can get contact information from the panel. Is everyone in the panel okay for us to share your contact information after the fact in case participants might want to contact you directly about either opportunities for your particular business, or is everyone okay with that if we pass that on? Yeah, cool. That's helpful. Rebecca, we'll send that information out after the fact, so you'll look out for an email of that one from us. There is one question, and it's actually from me. So there's no other questions, but as I've been listening to everyone, and a bit of a bias and a little cheeky question here from my work in the local jobs team here at Wyndham City Council. But I'm curious to know, and this is quite an open-ended question, so anyone in the panel that wants to have a crack at it, but I'm wondering what are some innovative approaches to tourism that prioritize community involvement and local ownership, particularly say, from a biased Wyndham, municipality perspective. And how do you think those types of models promote sustainable job growth and economic resilience in local communities? That's an open up one, kind of out of the box for anyone in the panel.
Look, I might have a go first, Keith. I might not be able to answer all of it, but in terms of sort of the growth of the visitor centre, so we've done some local community pop-up visitor centres at Pacific Werribee, which is really centred around sort of that visit family and friends market, and whether or not, they really do know their own backyard, and sort of, the things that they've experienced so far and the things that they still haven't experienced, and what might be the reasons because of that. So we really wanted to drive the fact that, you don't have to go to Melbourne, you don't have to go to Geelong, no offence, Geelong people, but, we've got so much here to do. So, when your family and friends come over, why don't you visit something here, rather than having to sort of go outwards? The community response, it was probably the most eye-opening information, because we did collect quite a lot of feedback, and a lot of it was they may have been to the zoo and that was it, which is a great experience, but nothing else. So they weren't aware that we had a harbour. They weren't aware that, we had the Western Treatment Plant if you wanted to go and do bird watching, or even, the Point Cook Coastal Park, and things like that. That we also have a homestead down, and, as well as the mansion, there's the RAF base and things like that. So it's an interesting thing to see that, a lot of your community doesn't know what they have in their own backyard. And so, in terms of growth for us, because we are only a small team, it helps us go and sort of push back into our own community. And given that, we will always be a little site at the zoo, this is the way that we can grow in some way, shape or form. And that's also participating at events as well, local events, about, sort of getting people to see, no, you're in Werribee anyway, why don't you go and visit something else here? So hopefully that answers some of your question.
It really does. Thank you for sharing that. I think it does. It really opens up your eyes. And I guess if you're looking at it from a local jobs perspective and making people aware of literally, like you said, Puri, like what's available literally in your backyard. And, all the panel members today, you've all shared, I guess, from your little slices of that quite expansive industry, what is available in your own backyards. Because the work that we do in local jobs, obviously, we're really invested in economic resilience and kind of really looking at like what are some pathways to keeping people local and making sure they have, local employment opportunities available. Did anyone else want to have a crack at answering that one? Otherwise, I think I've got a pretty solid response there.
Yeah, I can jump in on that as well. We, as I mentioned, we had volunteer programs at Werribee Park Mansion, and one of those is our community garden at the back. And we've got, examples of people who've actually come through that program, and I'm just thinking of one of our rangers in particular who came from he was a Korean immigrant and pretty much came with no English when he arrived, and so through some of the involvement with that community program, he got out. He was sort of getting skilled in horticulture and working with the gardens, and through that he was learning how to speak English better and connecting with people, and he eventually got into like a coordinator kind of position through that skill development, and then from there was able to sort of apply for a horticulture role that came up. So we had a direct sort of employment through that volunteer program, and we work with AIMS to sort of run programs like that. So there's opportunities through that, but even at a broader level, I think those volunteer opportunities, whether it's working in the community garden out the back, or working in the visitor centres or wherever, they help build your skill set and your knowledge and your experience. So when you're going into an interview situation, you've got something to draw from. And I think that's really, particularly for this ranger, was what helped him get across the line. Was he had experience with the park. He knew what we were all about. He knew that research that was talked about earlier, and just was able to sort of, get into the interview and just nail it, even though, he started from such a back foot sort of position. So yeah, it's definitely worth having a go at, I think.
Yeah, thanks. That's really helped. That's really, really great, Jared. Thanks for sharing that. And I think that's an example again of, I think, even broader collective ownership, not even just community ownership, but between business, community, and I guess an interface of service provision, like through your providers like AIMS and your other large services. In Wyndham, we've got the Wyndham Community Education Centre as well that do a lot of work in that space. So yeah, great. Some really great innovation to see there. I'm really happy with that. Thank you. And if anyone else, but otherwise, that's been really good. Back to you, Heather.
Okay. So yes, as we were saying, I guess this is a good opportunity in our last few minutes of today's session for anybody who might want to add anything else that we perhaps haven't touched on as yet to share with the audience with regards to either your own businesses or experiences. Let's maybe do a quick whip around everybody. We might start with say Anne-Marie and Preston. Is there anything else you'd like to add and share with the audience today?
You can go first, Anne-Marie.
I think you're on mute, Anne-Marie.
I was just wanting to add on, sure, now with all the information that we've shared on how to look and apply for opportunities that become available. So the best way is to go on ihgcareers.com. So not only for Holiday Inn Werribee, it has all the 17 hotels. So it's a global careers platform. You can search and break it down to the specific hotel, the region, the location, the department, and the specific job that you are interested in applying for. Submit your application, and then it will come through to the HR manager and the hiring manager of that department, and then we go through the screening process from there. But it also gives you an opportunity to look at IHG, the website as well, who we are, the history of IHG, specifically the hotel that you are applying for, and you can be diverted to like Holiday Inn Werribee.
Yes, the
I think one of the other
that we're talking about. that's key. Yes, for sure.
Yeah. And one of the important things to note is that we are opening a hotel in Geelong probably in June. So for those in the West,
Anne-Marie, you might have to say
other opportunities outside of Holiday Inn Werribee. Promotion, yeah.
Very good, very good. Paro, Jared or Stephen, anybody else with anything else that you'd like to add and inform our audience today?
I think one of the things, Heather, is that yes, COVID smashed the industry, and that was well publicised through the media and so on, and copped a knock throughout through tourism and hospitality. But during that time, and I think it's important to point out, there's been a huge investment in infrastructure right across, and Holiday Inn is obviously one of those examples, and what's happening in Geelong at the moment as well. So as we sort of come out of that post-COVID sort of time at the moment, there's a whole lot of these projects and things being completed, which is basically opening up really a great deal of job opportunities where tourism hospitality requires that skilled workforce, and there's never probably been better opportunities out there. Some of those opportunities people would have to wait for years to get into, but now there's a lot more of those out there now, which are sort of ready for people to go to.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess, Jared and Harry, would you agree that things are starting to really, as they say, ramp up?
Absolutely. And actually, one of the biggest challenges at the moment is actually finding staff. So it's probably a good timing in the sense that, the people are actually looking to fill staff as they're sort of reopening and building upon their services. The international visitors are probably sitting around 55 to 60% at the moment of what they were pre-COVID, but they're building. And part of the issue of getting more people here is actually we don't have the capacity to actually take them out and do tours and all those sort of things. So the more of that we can connect staff with those organisations, the better, I think. So.
Yes, and as you mentioned earlier, Pari, about the introduction of the elephants to the zoo, I'm sure that's going to increase visitor numbers exponentially. So yeah. I'm sure that you'll be looking for more people in your local area to support that, and of course Holiday Inn, you'll have a room for us all to sleep in. So that's excellent for the region.
No, and look, if I could just leave you with something, I just encourage you, come and visit us, come talk to us. We definitely have, the people who can tell you all the wonderful things you can do in Wyndham. So
yes, I know. As part of my preparation for this, I actually found a booklet at one of the visitor sites, and yes, there is a lot to do in Wyndham, and then and that obviously translates to potential opportunities for career for people who are looking to work and live in that wonderful area. Okay, so I don't know if there's anything much more. Keith, have you got any more questions just sort of suddenly come in?
No, just the Maggie in the group today also would like the panel member information. So we will definitely send that out probably sometime tomorrow morning.
Yes, we will. Well, I think that sort of fairly well sums it all up. I think we've had the opportunity to hear, as we said, from a variety of speakers. I think that hopefully has given our audience a better understanding of the tourism industry and the opportunities that are available, and what is available in the Wyndham area, and Werribee area. It is a wealth of, I think sometimes maybe, well, I'm sorry, I'm an outsider, and yes, I learned a lot. Yes, I knew all about the Werribee Mansion, but there are other things, other little treasures that you guys are hiding up there. And I think that is just wonderful. And I think that with programs like this, I hope that we've saturated everyone's appetite to want to work in this wonderful industry. They've seen what the opportunities are. As we've said, it's bouncing back from COVID, so I think we can pretty much put that behind us now and go forward and go and enjoy this wonderful area. So I'd perhaps just do my wrap up today. I'd just like to thank all the speakers for their time. We really do appreciate you sharing that information with the community. To the participants, we hope that you have found the information useful. As we mentioned, this session has been recorded and we will send it out, as we also mentioned earlier. So I would also like to thank both Keith and Soraya, who've been busy little beavers in the background helping me out here. So it was one less thing that I had to try and do. So thank you so very much, and for helping put this wonderful industry insights together. They've been great to work with. I've really have enjoyed it. So look forward to our next one, which will be coming up on May the 2nd. So we hope that you'll perhaps join us for that one as well, but more information will come out about that. So we'd like to provide you with enough information, and I guess we'd like to just say thank you and yeah, good night. Bye everybody. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks everybody. Thank you.
Thanks everyone.
Bye-bye.